a few moments just to be present with you. As you may know, the act of channeling can be a multi-sensory experience, and for those of you who don't know me, if this is the first time you've ever seen a video of mine, my name is Dana. I often am referred to as Dana Spirit Butterfly. My name is actually Dana Parker, but I like to move through a number of different portals or access points as to how you might work with me. And I do this in a fashion because I am a voice of the Sacred Feminine Rising. I'm here to articulate that which is our experience, and also reconnect us to the Sacred Feminine, which is the Earth, and to, by that, through that process, assist to give birth to the new Earth. You hear a lot of these phrases come through spiritual terminology and technology, and they are used to articulate meaningful data or information that hopefully means something to you, hopefully helps to anchor you and your life experience to something maybe beyond you or broader, to help explain perhaps the dynamics of the world around you. And so I come to you in this video as a spirit channel, or a psychic medium. Is same, slightly different emphasis. I previously would only use spirit channel and not psychic medium because, just like with a lot of labels, there's a lot of misunderstanding, just like with women, just like with men, just like the sacred feminine, just like emotions and expression and the human condition. There's a lot of misunderstandings about who we are and how we're designed and how we're supposed to show up and what's expected of us. This misunderstanding creates confusion, and for some of you the confusion creates or is a reflection of trauma from your past, maybe trauma that is still living throughout your human expressive system. And so let me just backtrack a little bit. Spirit medium, psychic medium. Psychic medium is a term that was coined by a psychic medium a while ago to embody or encapsulate what he did back then. I can't remember who that was. But his expression of this idea of being connected to something that's beyond the self, something that's intelligent, that can be communicated with for the purposes of dialoguing with something beyond the self. And typically many people get stuck a little bit on this idea of psychics being mind readers, psychics being able to discern your innermost secrets. And I'm here to partially dispel some of that dialogue, because to believe that is not only erroneous as a as a presumption, it really does make something that could be quite highly useful into something that's potentially toxic for you, and nobody wants that for anybody. Nobody wants that energy here. That's not our goal. Our goal here is to simply articulate to you that there's something beyond you, beyond the conditioning of your program, beyond that which you've been told exists, that is worthy of your attention and worthy of exploring to your level of awareness, wherever that is for you, that can gift you with an awareness of something that may serve you, support you, and help to heal some of the disparities, some of the stuff that doesn't work, some of the incoherency, some of the muddiness. I particularly, as a practitioner, use this tool to support myself first and foremost, because I am my most important client, and any other person who feels like they resonate with the work that I offer, that they can apply these techniques to be able to support themselves to become more present, become more available for life, become more articulate in their dialogue with the self and with others, to be able to participate in even more expansive ways with the environment that they find themselves in. You, sister, woman, friend, whoever it is that you are, whatever it is that you decide to label yourself as, you are welcome here. This is a dialogue for you. And so whatever it is that you hear in this dialogue, we work, of course, these videos are channeled. I'm not pre-planning them much. We are going to talk a little bit about some of the astrological alignments, particularly with the next moon cycle, primarily to assist you to get more grounded with the awareness of some of the influences, not all of them, but some of the things that influence you as you walk your path through life. And before I move forwards, I just also want to pay my acknowledgement to the fact that I am situated on Bundjalung land. I pay my respects to the elders past, present and emerging of this beautiful country, recognizing that sovereignty was never ceded, and that I, an Anglo-Celtic or ancested female born on Ghana country in Adelaide, South Australia, am here present as a spirit worker. I am here to assist that there is this thing called spirit and you have access to it, and that dialogue is a rich dialogue that we all are needing as a part of our human evolutionary experience. We need a connection to this frequency. We need to understand how this energy impacts us. We need to understand how to dialogue with it safely so that it can enhance our experience of life rather than detract from it, because a denial of its intelligence and its existence can cause trauma, can create energy of fear and disparity that creates a conscious fracture within your own experiencing of life. And so we're here to assist any person who's interested in knowing more about this to access that wealth, that gold, that wisdom that is housed within them. And so let me turn my attention to the psychic field. We're going to work with the psychic field today. I am a medium, and medium, so all psychics, we're all psychic. All humans are psychic, but not all psychics are mediums. And they can be, but they don't all have the calling to be, and they're not necessarily designed specifically to be a medium. I happen to be both personally, and I dialogue with that wherever it is that the sacred feminine rising in me directs my compass of flow. And so today we're specifically just going to look at what's coming, specifically the next moon cycle, but also in the lead up to Yule, which is the winter solstice here in the southern hemisphere, or if you're in the northern hemisphere, it'll be Litha, which is the summer solstice. But between now and there's a whole lot of energy that needs to pass through us collectively, a whole lot of relationship paradigms to dialogue with, to hopefully journal on. I really hope that if you're listening to this video, you do understand the value of getting some of your dialogue out through writing it out. It is a quintessential practice for all of us, and is a part of assisting the mind mapping system to orientate itself towards something that's healthy and more balanced. It can be used to create more trauma if it is applied in a way where we are manifesting more density in our experience. And that is maybe a conversation you might want to have with me personally if you'd like a one-on-one session. But what it basically means is that we are energy beings with a creator consciousness that has the ability to manifest more density, more drama, more emotive expression than is maybe necessary where we are feeling ignored, or where we are feeling like maybe there's something trapped inside of us that needs voicing that for some reason isn't able to move, isn't able to voice, isn't able to express itself. And so this moon cycle is going to have a number of conjuncts that will assist with this process. All of these astrological movements, they are here magnetically charged to keep us moving, to keep us dialoguing, to keep us in the conversation of life. When you first start spiritual practice, a lot of individuals will encourage you during full moon, for example. It's going to be quite, for the energy sensitive, full moons can be quite dramatic, feeling sensory experiences. You can very much tip into overwhelm really quickly. Where you tend to be of that type of energetic nowness, energetic expression, you'll find that some of the advice you'll be given is to basically calm down, come back to center, nourish yourself, take some water, sleep, go for a walk, be really gentle on yourself. And this type of practice is really good. It's called regulation. And regulation is also a term that's bandied around at the moment with all the coaches and all of the individuals that are littered around the world trying to make it a better place. This is for really good reasons, amazing reasons actually. If you find yourself if you find yourself opposite a coach and that coach happens to be gifting you with their time, take in what it is that they have to share and understand that being a conscious creator, you're still able to take what it is that you need and maybe discard the stuff that doesn't. Only you can decide what that is, and only you can decide if you're actually exercising the muscle of self-awareness and the dialogue within around what your own intrinsic needs might be. And that's something that requires listening, something that requires practices like meditation and mindfulness. It's something that requires you to be diligent with your self-care. And self-care, I land on that because during times of astrological upheaval, sometimes the thing that goes, the thing that tends to be chucked out the window is self-care. And self-care is a form of self-sovereignty. It's a form of declaration of, I am in this space, I am in this body, I recognize that life as it flows through me is influenced and impacted by me. And I recognize that I am in that picture. I am a part of that picture. These things that are happening in the external world, there is some part of it that does belong to me, that is mine to wield. And so conscious creator, self-sovereign, these types of energies are really important to understand and get across as you dialogue a little bit more with where the source of your own individual power is. And so as I land on power, the first influence is going to be the eclipse season. What is called by astrologists as eclipse season. And so eclipse season basically happens about 3 times a year, plus or minus about 3 times a year, sometimes 4 if you're lucky, but I think it's only 3 times this year. This is the second eclipse that we are experiencing this year, and there's only 2 eclipses, so sometimes they come in 3 and sometimes they come in 2. In this particular one, we have a full solar eclipse, and that happens on the 20th of April, or the 19th of April if you're in the Northern Hemisphere. Not all parts or geographical locations in the world will be impacted in the same way by the solar eclipse, but here in Australia we have pretty much full view of the total solar eclipse. So we are going to be quite Spirit gave me the word devastatingly. For some of you, it will feel devastatingly impacted by this solar eclipse. And Spirit is just reminding me that when we talk about devastating, our ancestors, when they weren't so far across all of the mapping that we have now of astrology and different, planetary movements and how they work, how they're structurally designed, would have felt like during a solar eclipse that there was a catastrophe. And indeed some cultures did believe that the gods were basically creating this as a sign of displeasure, as a sign that we were somehow not quite right. And so we know we can dispel some of that that's not actually the case, that the solar eclipse is basically where the moon crosses across the path between the sun and the earth. So for a moment, the moon is going to obscure the sun and it will get dark for a little while. And so this does impact, and you will feel, the energy sensitives absolutely will feel an impact. If you are listening, if you are grounded, and if you are present within your own field, you will feel the impact. If you are not working with the soul, working with the self, working with your own higher dialogue and getting into the conscious practice of energetic management, i.e. if you don't do any breath work, if you don't do any meditation, if you don't do any exercise with some form of mindfulness, you will be impacted by it unconsciously. And so what that means is that you will notice certain things happening and it will feel a little bit unnerving and you won't quite know why. Your conscious mind will have absolutely no idea as to what is happening within your system. And for those of you who are in the space in between where you're starting to dialogue with the conscious reality and you're starting to dialogue a lot more with energetic impacts and the things that hit you, that operate within your system and create changes within your system, if you're dialoguing with that, then you might dance between the whole catastrophization and this is really traumatic for me versus the awareness that whatever it is that's flowing right now is helping you to see. It's helping you to see things about yourself and things about your experiencing that you need to listen to in order for you to recognize what it is that serves you, what it is that feels like it should be there, and what it is that it feels like maybe something needs to be done about these things. Which is where Spirit is bringing me back to, you know, the whole journaling thing. Part of the practice of journaling, part of the practice of writing stuff down, part of the practice of listening to the dialogue and expressing it in words rather than necessarily just sitting on it and letting it simmer in the insides, actually getting it out on paper. Part of that practice is about self-awareness, sure, but it's actually part of how our system cleanses energy and how it moves it through. And we are designed to move energy through our system. We are not designed to sit on things. We are not designed to get trapped or locked up in our systems. And this is where a lot of the neurological conditions that relate to anxiety and, you know, psychological disturbances and incoherence and a whole lot of other things are all attached to kind of a similar paradigm where we don't allow the energy that is within us to dialogue, to show us what it is that it's needing in order to be able to move through the system. And Spirit is saying, in fairness, we don't really have the cultures at the moment on this planet that assist us to be in the discussion of this. A lot of that was relegated to the realm of the church quite some time ago. And we all know how institutionalized churches are these days and how biased they are towards particular things and blind they are to certain others. So moving along, this energy will shake some stuff up, and we have, because of the eclipse season that's now starting, we have for the last few months been building up to this moment of recognizing that the soul has some work to do, recognizing that the soul has a dialogue going through it that is impacting it in a physical, that is creating a paradigm around its own ability to manifest the things that it desires and the things that it wants, and is impacting its ability to perceive itself in space and time. And if all of this stuff feels like jargon, trust me that if you're listening to this video and you're still listening and you're still able to listen, on some level you are receiving this exactly what it is that it is saying. We are multidimensional, meaning that you might have a thought, form or idea in your head that basically says, oh, this is what I think that was, and then the rest of you will be like, yeah, but somehow I kind of realize it or recognize it. It's because on some level your cells, your very DNA does recognize a lot of the things that I'm talking about as not only true but also true for you on a deeper level. And I'm here to assist you to find that deeper level, to have that conversation with yourself on a deeper level, to not disregard the external experience or facade or environment. I mean, that's what gets a lot of us into trouble. You know, we often dance between this whole idea of there only being a physical, primate, stimulated, whatever reality. And then we dance between that and then going, no, but we are eternal beings and we are in the spiritual nexus and there's only just this spirit stuff and the rest is just, you know, kind of a facade. It's like, no, we actually dance the two together. We're specifically here to dance the two together. This is where I get a little bit excited because I'm like, how is it that we don't know this? How is it that we don't hear this? How is it that we're still denying this dance between the physical and the non-physical? How is it? I have 1,000,001 answers for you, but yeah, maybe you should book a session. So, solar eclipse. A solar eclipse is actually then followed up by Mercury retrograde. And so the Mercury retrograde around the 21st, 22nd of April is when the Mercury retrograde kind of comes. And this is usually typically a time period where communication doesn't quite go according to plan and where things feel like they're not quite meeting. And this is, again, Spirit just gave me the word divine design. Mercury retrogrades also only happen, I think it's about 4 times a year, give or take. You know, I'm not an astrologist, so let's not pretend, but they are time periods where time seems to not land in our favor. And communication does not seem to quite flow as easily. And we always work with this energy when we're aware that we get to be conscious, deliberate experiences in this experience, recognizing that there's this thing that we have no control over, and then there's this voice inside that is dialoguing omnipresently. That we have an opportunity here to say, okay, I'm just going to slow down things. I'm going to be really deliberate about the way that I approach this thing. And as I do, I'm going to go gently, softly and listen to what it needs, and maybe plan to be a little bit early with what it is that I feel like I really need in place, just in case things don't quite work out. And so a part of conscious planning during a Mercury retrograde is recognizing that if I'm going to go ahead with something, I need to have a bit of a backdoor, like I need to have a bit of a backdoor plan. I need to have a few things kind of lined up to make sure that if I really, really need this thing in life at this particular period of time, then I'm going to make sure that I have a couple of reserves just in case this thing doesn't quite land, or this person doesn't quite show up, or we've misunderstood each other and we need to have another conversation around something. So Mercury retrograde goes for about 3 weeks. And that energy influence is actually one that we should all be quite aware of right now. And what it does is it does teach you a certain amount of patience and a certain amount of deliberate communication. Next up after that is what I'm really excited about. On the 1st of May, we have Samhain or Samhain here in the Southern Hemisphere, otherwise known as the Celtic celebration of Halloween, or rather Halloween was the Catholic variation of what was originally the Celtic pagan celebration of Samhain. It's considered the time where the veil between the non-physical and the physical plane is thinnest, i.e. it's easier to communicate with the deceased loved ones and our ancestors. And so I'm running a circle that here in the Northern Rivers, if you're interested and you're a woman, that is specifically around connecting with ancestors. Unfortunately, I'm not offering an online thing for that. But if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, it is the time of Beltane. And Beltane is the time where you light the fires and everybody gets naked and dances and has a really great time and celebrates the coming season, the coming summer. And so we have that energy, that celebration. For the Southern Hemisphere, we are starting to go more inwards. We are starting to become more introspective. We are starting to let go a little bit more of the external party, the external interactions, and we're starting to dialogue a lot more with the inner. Typically across this time, this season, if we are indeed aligned with our seasonal cyclic reality. For the Northern Hemisphere, it's the opposite. You're starting to expand, you're starting to look outwards, you're starting to get excited about all the parties and the people and the places. And, you know, if you're not a party person, like I'm not really much of a party person, you might just be more into nature and want to go outside more and engage with the changing landscape that's available for you in the lead up to summer solstice. So this energy of expansion in the Northern Hemisphere and contraction in the Southern Hemisphere is essentially the theme heading out into the full moon, which is going to be a full moon in, in fact, I'm going to see if I can read that. Oh my God, I can't read that. I swear I'm getting blinder. The more psychic I get, the more blind I am with my physical eyes. There's a full moon in Scorpio, which is going to be a lunar eclipse, and that'll be on the 5th or the 6th of May, depending on where you are in the world. And so that energy, the Scorpio energy is, for me, I hear Scorpio and I think lovers, they're great lovers. They really do know how to go deep really quickly, really forcefully even. If they don't get their way, they tend to blow out really quickly. And so this energy of the full moon with the lunar eclipse is going to be an interesting one for your relationships. Spirit's also reminding me that lately quite a lot of us have been having the desire to go outward and be with people, but at the last minute we're changing our minds and deciding to do something on our own. And this is actually part of the relationship wave that's coming through the planet at the moment. It has been for some time. It's got a little bit to do with the alignments of where the rose of Venus is traveling. Venus, of course, the goddess of love, is relationship bound, and so her energetics is often about learning to harmonize her frequency with that which is available to her and the opposite in the masculine form. And so this dance between the masculine and feminine across this moon cycle and indeed into the lead up into the next solstice, it will require patience. It will require a lot of calm, retrospective insight And it will require you to trust that there's something emerging here. And for those of you who are already in relationships, you might notice that there's been a bit of a rocky ride or a quietening down of the relational paradigm, that the desire to go outward and to be into the relationship interaction has maybe been deadened a little bit or softened a little bit. Spirit gave me the word softened, because the desire here is to make sure that we're on our own, that we're standing on our own platform, voicing that which we need to say, rather than necessarily just reacting to what it is that they're expressing, the other person is expressing. So there has been this lean in to the idea of us being self-resourced, leaning into us being self-contained, leaning into this desire to be in our truest, most passioned form. And when I say most passioned form, I actually saw, and this is psychic senses, I actually saw, kind of, the image of Christ being strung up, bleeding heart strung up. And so the passion, this idea of dying for that which you believe in. So many people have been by default dying for what they believe in, not realizing that what they're expressing they're believing in is maybe not even what they actually believe in anymore. And so this whole passageway of they gave me the Libran energy, I'm not sure, maybe you're in Australia, the Libran energy, which is about rebalancing, the Libran energy moving forwards into the new Earth, as I said, we're all giving birth to the new Earth, has been about rebalancing the toxicity in our systems, in our own inner landscape systems, in order to be able to reach for more enriching relationships, more nourishing relationships. And for some of you, that has meant that you've been hermiting, that you've been making a decision actually to, instead of going forward with substandard interactions and things that don't necessarily feel great for you, going thank you but no thank you, and coming back to you. And this is healthy, this is great, this actually shows that you're in alignment with the new grid, with the new Earth. And so we are going to slowly wrap up this video because I don't like them to be too long, and I know that sometimes, particularly when I slow down as a channel, we get into something a little bit more I was going to use the word backward, I'm not sure that's right. Yeah, it's just a flip to where it is that I have in the past offered my own dialogue to others. And so if that isn't testament to the change that's coming, I do not know. But I'm getting a sense to also, before I finish, to acknowledge rose. You can see I've got roses here. I have these from a local spray-free grower, and I'm very excited to have found her because roses are amazing, beautiful gifts to the planet. They're incredible healers. They are cleansers, energetic cleansers, but they are highly toxic when they're sprayed. Isn't that spirit is saying, isn't that just the quintessential idea of woman? You might also notice that, or maybe you didn't notice, I have absolutely no makeup on. I have also not done a lot with regards to my appearance today, and I've done that deliberately because we are stepping now into a greater paradigm, and we are here to advocate, we, me, spirit, on the collective field that I'm navigating at the moment. We are here specifically to remind you that woman comes in all shapes and sizes and all age types and experiences, and that she needs to be heard in the way that she shows up, unless in her more articulate, stylized fashion. And when I say that, I am asking you all to acknowledge that when we groom our hair and do our nails and put on our makeup and dress up, often what underlies that is generational trauma. It's actually generations of women who feel like as they are is not good enough. And you can, and I also absolutely have argued that it is a part of our human evolutionary growth to feel a sense of not enoughness, because if I were to feel enough, I wouldn't evolve, or at least the stimulus for me to improve wouldn't be there. But what I've discovered with myself is that it's actually never true. It's never been true. And as I've eased off on the stylized grooming, the more I've had to be listening to the little girl self, the one that used to speak herself so beautifully and so eloquently in her own natural state, that she's returned. She's available to dialogue with again, and all of the stereotyping that was impressed upon her that made her something else is no longer, excuse me, fucking with her head. It's not the paradigm anymore, and the paradigm can't exist on a head level anyway. The head is designed to create gateways of potential that are only available if it feels safe enough, and that is okay. It's okay, but when safety, where your head tells you is safety, is actually not true safety, then you're dialoguing with the wrong map in hand. You're dialoguing with a map that doesn't actually exist. And so we are here advocating for the return of the sacred feminine, which involves the removal of her external facading to be able to come back to the gift that is her sacred, dearest, most beloved voice, which is housed inside. It's always been there. It will always be there. But it won't be heard if I can't hear her. And it won't be allowed if I don't allow her. And it won't be seen for the rich woman that she actually has become, and she continues to become, if we don't let her out of her box, if we don't let her out of her locked in, trapped in, facaded over experience. So I encourage you, return back to you, and if you're wanting to dialogue a little bit more with that, please do check out my website, www.dana spiritbutterfly, D-A-N-A, spiritbutterfly.com, and there you will see some more information. There's a tab there that talks about sacred women, and there's some more information there about some of the work that I do there, including my Rose program. So with that, I send you kisses. The dates and times of the astrological movements that are important for this particular video, I will write it down into the YouTube link, and maybe if you feel like you'd like to dialogue with that a bit more further, you can tune in and work with that. Otherwise, I hope that I see you in my container at some point. Reach out. I send you love. Rose sends you love. The great spirit oneness and the earth mother sends you divine desire to be in connection and in service to you. And so with that, until our next time, see you guys.